Hey guys, so I just got back from the absolute insanity that was the Berkeley Free Speech Rally. I have pepper spray in my eyes still.
This is not a good time. Woo!
I tried to get you out of it.
Oh, what's worse is I think I got trapped in the goggles.
Oh, is that what happened? Oh, here.
My ears are ringing from an M80 that bounced off my helmet and onto the ground beside me.
Oh my god, it hit me.
You're good.
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's back up. One more. You're fine.
I managed to dodge bricks, bagels, sticks, and signs and all sorts of things, and have come back in better shape than a lot of people, hoping to tell you what actually went down at this event before the media can go ahead and spin it for you. If you walk through the streets of Berkeley, the entire damn place is covered in signs that say Antifa zone and even communist spray paint. It is infested with radicals, and as a result, anyone who tries to hold any sort of right-wing event literally gets beat up by militant communists in the streets. As seen before, time and time again, with Milo events or the last Bay Stickman rally, they are always there ready to shut it down. So instead of backing down this time and being censored because of violence, Trump supporters said, no more, screw it. Not only are we not going to be silenced, but we are going to fight back when you try to hit us. I do think it's important to note, though, that the organizer of this event, Rich Black, and all the other amazing people that worked on it, did do their best to make sure that this event wouldn't get to the point that it did. We were in contact with the police, who assured us, word for word, we would be impressed with the police presence.
Right.
They're like, no one does that in real life. No one runs around with Nazi tattoos in real life. You don't see it.
So if it doesn't exist, then what? Well, you would agree that some of it exists, right? Like there's something there somewhere that's true.
Yeah, even the Richard Spencers of the world, like they're kind of misrepresented as well. Like Richard Spencer is not a white supremacist. He is a white nationalist. He believes in a white ethno-state. He doesn't believe in whites being superior. So the problem that's happened is so many people they've never read fascist literature. They've never studied any of the far-right ideologies. They've just been told bigotry, 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 repeat bigotry, so they have no idea what they're talking about. So either now they've gone and they called everything Nazism, everything white supremacy. The word means nothing anymore. And then when you have Richard Spencer's come out of the woodwork that supports a white ethno-state kind of thing, they don't even know how to argue against him because they've never even heard the arguments in their life before. The only argument they have is bigot. So if there is a white nationalist, white supremacist uprising in America, it's simply going to be because the arguments against white nationalists don't exist other than bigot.
Other
people
than
hear
you can
that.
punch Nazis
exactly,
in the face.
and that's not a good argument, and it's literally bringing sympathy to the very, very few people that exist.
The right-wing media has been premised, at least the North American right-wing media, has been premised upon exploiting white identitarianism for a long time. What held them in place, what kept them from explicitly supporting white nationalism, is the standards and practices of broadcast and cable television, meaning that because these right-wing media outlets were dependent on advertising that was, approved by S&P, they were forced to dog whistle and pussyfoot around the explicit support of white supremacy. That's over. The migration of right-wing media to the internet, to YouTube, to podcasts, has created an environment where you don't have to dog whistle. The end of conservatives, as they're called by the alt-right, is an end to implicit support for white identitarianism being used to veil economic libertarianism. The old hustle used to be, we will pander softly to your bigotry if you will endorse our fiscal policy. That's over now. You don't hear Richard Spencer talking about the importance of fiscal integrity. As a matter of fact, you will hear him often denounce the old model, talking about how Republicans would pander a white nation state and then pass another tax cut for themselves and leave white nationalism on the table to mobilize for the next election. That brings us to Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern is a long time. She's 21 years old, but she's been in the online conversation for a minute, and she has slowly transformed from implicitly supporting white nationalism. Let me tell you how far to the right Lauren Southern has moved. She had to leave Rebel Media because Rebel Media, which is militantly anti-black, racist, was not race realist enough for her audience. They did one video where they denounced white nationalism, and they had to retract it. And as soon as that happened, she left because she is, in this internet environment, the right wing is explicitly about white supremacy, culture war, not just based on, the old issues are dead. The only reason that abortion is still around is because it's part of the white genocide narrative. And gay marriage is the same thing. Everything that used to be the part of the Christian conservative narrative has now been refiltered, in my opinion, through what it always meant. That there is some kind of conspiracy against white dominionism, which used to be called Christian dominionism when they were using evangelical language to cover for, their soft Klansmanship. That brings us to the recent Berkeley riot where Trump supporters, Nazis, and narco-communists, red and black socialists, anarchists, protesters clashed violently. Now, I just want to put a little disclaimer here. When I talk about Trump voters as Nazis, I have friends and family that voted for Trump that I love very dearly, and they're just everyday people. They're perfectly mild and fine. Their support for Trump pretty much started and ended on Election Day. They were given a civic choice between Trump and Hillary, and for their own reasons, they chose Trump. They are not movement Trumpists. That doesn't necessarily exonerate them completely from whatever Trump does in office, because they have a standard level of civic responsibility. Meaning, you voted for this guy, he did A, B, and C. I voted for Hillary Clinton in the election of 2016, and if whatever she did, I would have been liable for. But I obviously am not a movement Clintonite. She doesn't express anything about my personal political philosophy or economic goals. But I digress from my digression. Lauren Southern, to me, is emblematic of this shift within the right-wing media from dog whistle to bullhorn. She came out of those riots with like explicitly saying, we won. There were only two sides in that fucking riot. It was anarchists and Nazis, and if you want to use soft language because Nazi offends you or whatever, it was anarchists and white nationalists. There were no fucking milquetoast Republicans, evangelical conservatives. It was white nationalists. So, what sort of really makes me sick is the fact that Lauren Southern is part of this narrative now that the Nazis are the freedom side. I shit you not. I shit you not that the right wing on YouTube and Twitter are referring to the Nazis as the freedom side in these clashes. Now let's put aside like semantics, right? Of what's one side? Anarchists. What do anarchists believe? Maximum freedom. They're literally the starting point. We are the starting point of the political spectrum. Anarcho-capitalism and anarcho-communism is the starting and end point of the political spectrum in terms of social liberty and economic policy. Right? The fascists, the white nationalists, it is impossible for them to be the freedom side. They are the freedom side for themselves and no one else. So if you support freedom for yourself and no one else, this whole like freedom of speech stuff, all that stuff that they're talking now is only for them and only for their cause. It's not even for I was going to say white nationalists only support free speech for white people, but they don't support free speech for white progressives. They support an extremely constrained form of free speech. You're free to endorse our narrative, like any authoritarian does. Authoritarians only support free speech as far as you agree with them. And it disgusts me to see the so-called liberal free speech advocates of YouTube, the free speech advocates of the skeptic movement, who I'm always forced to talk about when I'm trying to, this was supposed to be a video about Nathan Domingo. Domingo? And I'm sidetracked. I'm sidetracked with the skeptics. Again, I try to denounce and expose the alt-right, and I have to climb over the head of fucking so-called arbiters of truth on YouTube. The imaginary distinction between Trump supporters and fascism, fascist nationalist, is over. It's irrelevant now. There is no daylight between the right-wing media and white identitarianism. The time to freak out is now.